I'm Evan Knappen.
And I'm Teddy Knappen.
And welcome to Gun Lawyer. So, my whole life I've really loved air guns. I had BB guns and air rifles as a kid, and I had my, of course, the classic Red Ryder, and I had a Crosman 760 XL. Now that was the Crosman 177 pellet and BB rifle, and the XL had the beautiful golden receiver on it. I don't know if any of you had an XL version of the 760, but that was a really fun, great air gun. And I had a Benjamin. Man, that was a powerhouse, and it was 22 caliber pellet. You could pump that baby up, and that was my number one squirrel killer. And all as a kid, I shot squirrels in my yard where my father had a giant garden, and he needed to keep the squirrel population down. And I shot those squirrels, and then I cut off their tails, and then I sold the tails to Mepps Lore Company, which would buy squirrel tails, and I think they still might do that. And that got me some money as a kid, and it was used, of course, to buy more pellets and fun things. And I progressed, as maybe some of you did, to a love of adult air guns. And then, of course, Robert Beeman and Air Rifle Headquarters, and they were bringing in those premier, phenomenal air rifles that today are a standard of a entire sector of what I'll call the gun world. And some of you may have had great RWS guns, or my favorite were Feinwerk bows. And never forget, my dad got a Feinwerk bow 124 from Beeman that he ordered, and he had it custom ordered, and they worked up the innards on it, so that thing was sweet. And ever since then, I've acquired many adult air guns. I have the finest Feinwerk bow ever made, the 300 series, the Olympic Feinwerk bow. It just shoots through the same hole. And there's so many phenomenal air guns. And today, of course, the revolution in air guns is the pre-charge air gun. And they have air guns that have tremendous ability for hunting. And air guns are just a blast. They're fun. They're a great way of learning firearm safety, shooting skills, great way of introducing young folks into firearms and the fun and joy of shooting. So air guns are great. I have a deep love of air guns, always have. I'm a collector of air guns. I love the history of air guns. And you may know that an air gun was taken on the Lewis and Clark expedition, which made a lot of sense because the ability to get gunpowder in the wilderness is not an easy task. And with an air gun, well, there's always air around, and they would pump up that air gun, and they could use it to take big game. And it was that air rifle is actually still known and around. That was used on the St. Louis. When they left St. Louis, they had it with them on that great exploratory mission under President Jefferson. And air guns, even at one point, they were used militarily by the Austrians, and Napoleon had the death penalty for anybody caught with an air rifle, and those were able to fire repeatedly with enough power to be used militarily. There's an amazing history, and air guns, but the modern sporting air gun today, all the way down to the BB gun, has a tremendous role. And yet, despite the tradition and the history of air guns in America, New York is now proposing a law to ban BB guns and air guns, and the law that New York Democrats, of course, proposing is to ban air guns by making air guns all being placed in a category of imitation weapons. And by doing that, it would require that every air gun have a plug and specific coloration. And by putting them in that category, they will no longer shoot. Okay, so what's the point? The idea here being, if you make them an imitation firearm, and then they want to raise the age from 16 to 18, and they're selling this nonsense under a typical gun oppressionist lie of claiming police-involved shootings involving individuals who possessed an air gun, which was designed to look like a firearm. And, the same way they sold the nonsense of cop killer bullets, of which no cop has ever been killed by one, but why should that stop them from banning so-called cop killer bullets? Anytime they get any angle that they can sell to the public and fool the public who doesn't have an understanding of guns and such, they do it. And here, New York now may become subject to what would essentially be a ban on air guns and BB guns. But let me say right now on the Gun Lawyer podcast that if New York succeeds in passing this law, there is a magic bullet, shall we say, that can kill this law. New Yorkers can shoot the eye out of New York's air gun ban. And the way to do it, I'm going to give you right now how to kill an air gun ban. And it is under the United States Code. It is Title 15, Section 5001. And this, my friends, is a federal law. It is a federal law that deals with imitation firearms. And the reason this federal law is such an incredibly powerful weapon is that this federal law is an area of firearm preemption law. What it means is that federal law preempts state law. Federal law supersedes and is superior to, overrides it, my friends, overrides it. And because of that, we are able to take out state laws that attempt to interfere with air guns, and for that matter, imitation firearms, the very thing that New York is attempting to use as the vehicle to create an air gun ban. Let me tell you about Section 5001. 5001 first defines and lays out what is required to be on imitation firearms. And it lays out what we have seen in the last few decades of having the distinctive markings, the blaze orange plug on look-alike or toy air guns and other imitation firearms and such. And the look-alike firearm, which is what the law refers to, is defined as any imitation of an original firearm which was manufactured, designed, or produced since 1898, including and limited to toy guns, water guns, replica non-guns, airsoft guns, firing non-metallic projectiles, such as airsoft and such. The term does not include any look-alike, non-firing, collector replica of an antique firearm developed prior to 1898, or traditional BB, paintball, or pellet firing air guns that expel a projectile through the use of force or air pressure. And lo and behold, this section has a statement that says preemption of state or local laws or ordinance. Preemption. The provisions of this section shall supersede any provision of state or local laws or ordinance which provide for markings or identification inconsistent with provisions of this section, okay? And then it goes on and it says, ready? No state shall, and then number 1, prohibit the sale or manufacture of any look-alike, non-firing collector replica of an antique firearm. So replica collector firearms are protected. And 2, very important here for New York and any other state that wants to try to ban air guns, prohibit the sale, parentheses, other than prohibiting the sale to minors, and parentheses, of traditional BB, paintball, or pellet firing air guns that expel a projectile through the force of air pressure. So, should New York be as repressive and stupid as to attempt to ban air guns, federal law preempts and nullifies, supersedes that state law. And let me tell you another little factor, very interesting. I used this law successfully to attack New Jersey's assault firearm law. In the case of Coalition of New Jersey Sportsmen versus Florio, which you can find at 744 F Sup 602, back in 1990, I challenged the then Attorney General, Robert Del Tufo. I brought an action, a civil action, challenging New Jersey's assault firearm ban on a number, and magazine ban, by the way, on a number of things. And one of the specific challenges was utilizing 15 USC 5001, which is the air gun preemption, because New Jersey's assault firearm ban, as written, included air guns, because air guns are firearms in New Jersey. And the ban on assault firearms and magazines, by definition, included air guns. And this case with Judge Garrett Brown, federal judge, had an injunction, which, by the way, this is why today you can still buy air guns, BB guns, pellet guns in New Jersey that may seem at first to fall under the definition of New Jersey's assault firearm law because of this case and its outcome. And the court found that the prohibition as it affects air guns was unconstitutional in that it was preempted under this federal law. So there's even case law enforcing this federal preemption as it comes to air guns, even in an assault firearm ban, no less a ban that specifically attempts to ban air guns and BB guns. So I am giving this to New York as information, folks, and anywhere else that there is an air gun ban, that we have a weapon. Believe it or not, air guns, BB guns, etc., are more protected than firearms in America. More protected, because federal law preempts state laws from banning them. If we had federal preemption for firearms, then the only firearm law would be the federal law, and no state law banning guns would stand. But we don't have federal preemption. Our federal gun laws, except with very limited, narrow, a few laws like Title 18, 926A for interstate transportation, and for LEOSA for law enforcement carry and retired law enforcement carry, and for armored car carry, except for a few areas like that, we don't have federal preemptive laws on firearms. But we do have a federal preemptive law that protects air guns, BB guns, and replica firearms. So, if we ever wanted to wipe out all the state bans, we'd simply have to make the federal law preemptive. But instead, the federal law specifically says it's not preemptive. So what it does is it creates a situation when it comes to firearms that the federal law is the minimum gun law for the United States, and then the states are given carte blanche to go crazy, to do whatever the hell they want to maximize the gun laws. And then the only thing that possibly limits states is the Second Amendment and its impact that we're gaining ground every day in the courts. But if we simply said that the Gun Control Act of 1968, for example, and any of its other amendments are preemptive, it would wipe out all state bans instantly. Well, we haven't done that, but we did do it for air guns, folks, and BB guns and replica firearms. And it needs to be known out there so that when these attempts at bans are made by states or towns, this weapon, this hammer in our law, can be used to defeat them.
Out of curiosity, just thinking on New York and their other attempts, I give them credit. They're always very creative on finding ways to take away people's rights. Could they make any laws that either try to make weird compliance requirements for air guns or air pellet guns, where they would be effectively banned? Basically, without saying, "Oh, you can't have it," you just have to have all these different bells and whistles, or is it just full preemption?
Well,
there's nothing they can do.
Well, they might be able to create a license or permit system, maybe, if there's no ban. Because currently in New Jersey, you still need a firearms ID card to purchase an air gun or, long arm. Air guns are technically defined as shotguns, even if they have a rifled barrel, and therefore a firearm because they don't fire fixed ammunition. So it puts them into the shotgun long arm category, which is why you would need a firearms ID card. And if it's a handgun, then you would need a pistol purchase permit if you've acquired those air guns in New Jersey. Now, if you acquire air guns outside New Jersey, federal law doesn't view them as firearms. If the state you're in doesn't view them as firearms, like Pennsylvania doesn't, you can acquire air guns outside the jurisdiction of New Jersey, and you can bring them back to New Jersey and possess them in New Jersey without even having a firearm ID card if you possess them by way of the exemptions. But New Jersey regulates air guns by way of firearm licensing, but cannot ban them. And Judge Brown declared New Jersey's assault firearm law a de facto ban. And because it's a de facto ban, you can't ban air guns with a ban. And the de facto ban did just that. So maybe New York, in theory, could create, licensing, maybe, depending on how they structure it. But an outright ban that forces guns that are air guns into an imitation firearm category that requires a plug is completely and utterly contradiction to the federal preemption law regarding those type of guns. And
Watch
it's
as
really
Hakeem Jeffries introduces a bill to repeal the air gun preemption.
you never know, right? I mean, he might decide that. But this was fought for back in the day, and it was great that I know Daisy played a major role, by the way, in getting that legislation through, and it is why we have actually stronger protections for air guns, BB guns, and traditional pellet firing guns of that nature. And for that matter, paintball as well, even though we also have the In re Gong case in Jersey that protects paintball markers and why you can have paintball. And essentially, soft air falls under this protection as well. So it's interesting how our laws have evolved, but this preemptive federal law needs to be better known and out there to be used to stop these repression Second Amendment states
out of
from
curiosity,
doing their thing.
just to play with the idea, let's say if things get very, very bad and and states start legislating, in terms of technology, do you think they'll ever get to a point for air guns to be essentially like carry guns almost, where there's a way around it?
Well, we have burners, right,
Yeah.
that fire projectiles that are essentially pepper balls. It was given how much, we might be able to do that, but the federal law doesn't preempt carry. They would preempt sale, and according to Judge Brown as well, sale extends to possession. It's not just limited to sale. And really, Judge Brown, in the logic in that case, could actually be used, I think, as an argument against what recently has been determined in the weird trick, as they call it, the weird trick, where they're claiming that a sale isn't protected under the Second Amendment, just possession, and that they can ban the sale of various semi-automatics that they feel shouldn't be possessed, even though they're not banning possession, and that somehow you can distinguish that. But Judge Brown cut through that garbage in terms of the airgun preemption by saying, no, it is a de facto ban. When you ban the sale, you ban the possession. And you could follow the logic of Judge Brown in that case and maybe apply it even in these other challenges and fights that we have. But to make an air pistol that has the power of a weapon probably could be done. But look, I don't want to get shot with anything, even a BB pistol. Who wants to get shot with anything? But whether it would be effective enough for general, truly effective self-defense remains to be seen. But I don't know of any actual lethal handgun development in air guns out there that is truly designed to be a self-defense gun. I don't know of that. Now, less than lethal, of course, you're dealing with burners when it comes to less than lethal. Hey, let's mention our good friends at We Shoot. So We Shoot is range in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's a wonderful indoor range. That's where Teddy and I both shoot, where we got our certifications. And a matter of fact, We Shoot is offering New Jersey carry permit certification for a new price of only $225, and you can get your certification that you need so that you can get your New Jersey permit to carry and get it right from WeShoot. And you can go to WeShootUSA.com, check out their website, and you can learn about the great programs they're offering. USCCA, NJCCW carry dates. They have that. They have NRA CC carry dates, and they can help you doing renewal classes, right? They have all this here. And they have a New Jersey carry certification for seniors. And they have special day for that. So WeShoot is really going all out with multiple abilities here for you to get your certification, so that we are currently hovering somewhere around 90,000 carry permits. We're going to be breaking that 100 unless we maybe even already had. And in order to join the ranks of those that choose to be defenders instead of victims, check out WeShoot. WeShoot will help you to get your Jersey carry and other states' carries as well, and even more training from novice to the most advanced shooter. They can meet your needs. Great pro shop. They can get you set up with the perfect firearm for defending yourself and your loved ones, for enjoying a great day at the range. They have great rentals, a great facility. We love WeShoot, and I know that you will too. Check out WeShootUSA.com. Let me also not forget to shamelessly promote my book, which is New Jersey Gun Law, the Bible of New Jersey gun law. It is 120 topics, all in question and answer format, and it's over 500 pages, and it will help you from becoming a GoFu. And it is the guidebook used by all. It is the authority of New Jersey gun law. Get your copy today at evannappen.com. evannappen.com. Go right there, and you'll be able to get your book and have it to you within a matter of days. So, Teddy, what is on your mind today?
Well, as you know, press checks are always free. And I think everyone's been kind of seeing the news hit what's been going on, Trump with the Pope. And I want to start things off to all the Catholic listeners. Do not think on this as a theological lens. Think of this as a political. I'm not arguing the spiritual aspect of it. I am talking the politics, the hardcore politics. And what do I see here? I see an individual arguing. If you were to listen to someone who made an argument for climate change, open borders, against capitalism and economic inequalities, and also pushing for gun rights oppression, you would assume it's a woke Democrat progressive. Yet those are the views espoused by the Pope, and the sources are here for that. You can look it up. You can see it all across the internet. Crowder did a great job breaking it all down, but I wanted to dive a little deeper on the thing that matters to us the most, which is the Second Amendment.
Wait, who's Crowder?
Steven Crowder. Laderick Crowder. He does a great show. He breaks down the whole deal and shows what this individual, prior to becoming Pope, would go to bat, bashing Trump, bashing J.D. Vance, pushing for open borders. Oh my God, what's that thing surrounding the Vatican?
You mean the wall? It's pretty impressive.
Exactly.
I've been there. The Vatican's cool.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You have to. And then of course, then he goes on and says, "I don't want to talk about politics," but then voices his opinion on every political stance, and it's incredibly disingenuous and almost. I don't even call it like cognitive dissonance, where he's not even understanding how much that comes off. So to point out a few things here, this comes right from the NCR Online. right here from the Pope when it was two bishops. We hold prayer. This was after one of the big shootings. We hold prayer for the to the countless children killed and injured every day around the world. Let us plead to God to stop the pandemic of arms, large and small. I have heard that term many times, the pandemic of arms. Where does that come from? Oh, the gun rights oppressors. And these same cardinals...
Well, wait, and the reason is by putting it in a health context. They want to use it so they can use it to go after the political issue regarding health insurance. They want to make it a health issue. This was their actual plan, and I personally heard it espoused early on by Josh Sugarman when Hillary Clinton was pushing for national health care, how they want to make guns a health issue. And they sure as hell have done a good job of that, actually. And they've gotten the CDC involved. They got the pediatricians and the doctors. You're asked questions about, are you a gun owner by your doctor? This didn't happen by magic. This is all part of the plan. So by calling it pandemic, by looking at it in that way, it's pushing the gun rights oppression via the political issue of healthcare.
Yeah, and also the fact that his fellow cardinals at that time were also taking a step further, saying, the facts are clear. Guns are plentiful, and common sense attempts to limit their availability have largely been rejected in the name of freedom not found in our Constitution. I don't think they read the Constitution. Or they skipped the pages. Only went to the things that mattered. But I didn't hear him call out and say, "No, we're not about that. We're not about disarming our people." Which, by the way, it doesn't really work out too well when a group of individuals are disarmed. Those of religious faith. Just looking at history, mind you. And going back, by the way, this goes back even prior to when he was just the cardinal. 2017, after the mass shooting in Las Vegas, he reposts Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, to my colleagues, your cowardice to act cannot be whitewashed by thoughts and prayers. None of this ends unless we do something to stop it. Increase access to mental health care and stronger, quote unquote, sensible gun control laws. I wonder what that sounds like.
Yeah, it's true. Well, there's the politics of it, then there's the economics of it, there's donations and such. There's all these kind of things that have unfortunately skewed what's going on. Yeah, matter of fact, I know I wanted to mention, I don't know if I ever told you, Teddy, about the time that Frank Perdue. Okay, remember Frank Perdue with Perdue Chicken there? Well, he wanted to better promote chicken, which was always his mission. It's true story about his remember his slogan, "It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken," right? That was his, for many, many years, you'd see Frank Perdue's face on billboards. It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken. Now, this is a true story now. Now, I know this is a little bit off the topic, but I'm going to get back to how this applies to what you're talking about. But they did try to market in Spain. True story. And when the translators translated, "It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken," in Spain, they put up the billboards with Frank's face, with his slogan, and the translators for the word tough use the word macho. And we all, in America, macho means tough. However, in Spain, Spanish in Spain, macho means sexually excited. So everyone was driving by billboards with Frank Perdue's face saying it takes a sexually excited man to make a tender chicken. But I digress. Let me tell you about what happened when Frank Perdue really wanted to market chicken. And, he went to the Pope and he said, I would like you to change. Give us this day our daily bread, to give us this day our daily chicken. And the Pope said, no way, I'm not going to do that. He goes, look, we'll donate $10 million to the church. What do you say? The Pope said, no, not doing it. Frank Perdue upped his offer. Finally, $100 million, wouldn't do it. finally produces, look, $1 billion, give us this day our daily bread to give us this day our daily chicken. And look, for $1 billion, he figured how much good the church could do around the world with $1 billion and agreed to do it. And at that time, the Pope had a big meeting with all the cardinals and everyone, and he said, I have good news and I have bad news. He said, the good news is the Purdue Chicken Company has donated $1 billion to the Catholic Church, and it's going to be wonderful for us. The bad news is we lost the Wonder Bread account. Okay, so anyway,
Wow.
I know that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. Pretty
funny
bad.
enough, sure enough, from MSN, last Thursday, Pope Leo also met with David Axelrod, Democrat strategist and former
really?
advisor to Barack Obama.
Is
Just
that
right
all?
up in the midterms when things are coming up and trying to go after the Catholic vote. But this is my point. This is where, and to show the true hypocrisy, like I said, that wall surrounding Vatican City and yet talks about open borders, I thought to myself, what do the Vatican Guard carry? What do the Swiss Guard carry? What is their choice? So I actually
Wait, the Swiss Guard has guns
I know, right?
in the
Shocking.
Vatican?
Not just guns, the deadly assault firearms, if they can define it for me.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait,
So,
actually, I think they're truly assault firearms because I believe they're select fire. So those
Yeah,
are actual assault firearms, not the nonsense of what the gun rights oppressionists claim are assault firearms.
that so
What model? Do you know what model they have? Well, I think it's one of these SIG.
So for the
aren't they-
rifles, the original one, they were using the K-31s.
Those are bolt action.
I know, bolt action. But they decided to upgrade after there was apparently there was an attempted attack on him in the Pope in 1981. So they upgraded their arms, and now they are using. Apparently, they got the Sig Sauer. They love Sig Sauer. They got the Sig Sauer SG 552 Commando as their current choice of rifle.
Oh, commandos. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, look,
Yeah.
I think I totally am in favor of the Pope and the Vatican being protected by firearms. Absolutely makes sense. But to then try to promote disarming anybody else, that's another story.
Yeah, and
So-
also they upgraded themselves with Sig Sauer P220s, and along with and that's their, by the way, the Honor Guard carry those. The plainclothes travel ones will carry Glock 19s.
So other than having a wall and having guns, that all makes sense for their positions. Okay.
Oh, and also
On the
HK
politics
MP7s
sides.
when they want to swap out every occasion.
Oh, God.
For-
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Well, Teddy, I appreciate you pointing this out. And as you said, it's not about the spiritual issue. It's just that the politics are there, and we have to be vigilant about the politics, no matter where it creeps in, even if it's in our beliefs. It's still there, and we need to always vigorously defend our rights and put the arguments forward, and that's what's important. Hey, let me tell you about this week's GoFu. And this week's GoFu, the GoFu's Gun Owner F Up. And I'm going to tell you, man, I have seen it. This one is just everywhere because New Jersey has made anyone who gets a mental health commitment, involuntary or voluntary, it becomes a disqualifier to get a gun. Folks, let that sink in. If you voluntarily check in to get mental health help, as soon as you voluntarily commit to getting the help, guess what? You now have cost yourself your gun rights. Under New Jersey law, within 5 days of that, you're supposed to turn in your firearms ID card, you become disqualified under New Jersey gun law. If you simply have seen any doctor or psychiatrist for mental health reason, Jersey will question you about it. And now you will have the added burden just on seeing a doctor, no less voluntary commitment, okay? Just seeing the doctor. Now you're going to have to find a doctor willing to say that you're safe for firearms. And the problem is doctors are cowards. Even if they know you're good for guns, they don't want to say it because if there's ever a problem, they're afraid they're going to get sued. And if you ever have a voluntary commitment, well, that's just a per se bar. And if it's an involuntary commitment, well, you're not only banned under state law, but you're banned under federal law. My friends, beware of the mental health trap that exists, which will disenfranchise you of your gun rights. And look, I get it. If you need mental help, then I don't want to say don't get it. But make sure you have in your calculation what will the ramifications be. It's not something to do lightly. That is for sure. And this is Evan Nappen and Teddy Nappen reminding you that gun laws don't protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.